Now, you wrote not so long ago that since Russia is progressively advancing on the battlefield, there is no reason for it to snatch defeat from the jaws of its army's victories. But we live in very, very ambiguous times when even sustained military victories do not guarantee, do not lead to peace negotiations or even the ending of the war, do they?
Well, I think that's precisely what I was getting at with that point. Is that, Russia is winning the war. It will win the war.
On the battlefield.
Yes. Militarily, there will be some kind of a Russian victory. But the question is, what is it going to win? What kind of peace it's going to win? And the danger is that it will win a very unstable peace or a cold peace, or that phrase you just used, a proxy peace. That would not be a good outcome of the war from Russia's point of view. That would be a failure. So, Russia should, I'm sure is looking beyond the military conflict. Is looking to try to secure a durable peace. And thankfully, at the moment, it seems to have, in the form of the Trump administration, a partner that makes that more possible than it was in the past.
Now, before we go any further, let me ask you: over the last 3 years, was there ever a point when you personally believed that Ukraine, as a nation with all the support that it gets from the West, may prevail militarily over Russia?
Well, you live in the West. For the last 3 years, we've been subject to a torrent of pro-Ukrainian propaganda. Day in, day out, we've been told, Ukraine is winning, Russia is losing. Putin's regime is about to collapse. The latest Western military technology is going to change the course of the war. Just day in, day out, that propaganda. And in the face of that propaganda, everyone has some doubts. But sometimes I woke up in the morning thinking, am I the one who's crazy here? Am I not seeing what's going on? Am I a dupe of Russian propaganda? Now, that was only like passing kind of notions, because, of course, as a Russia expert, I have some idea about Russia and about the Russian armed forces, right? And what I know about...
Roberts, it's not only about being an expert in Russia, but I think more generally, having some basic understanding that war takes an effort, and you do not fight it only on the pages of newspapers or on the screens of televisions, but, you need to procure certain materials, you need to have well-trained armies, and you actually put that all in a row before rather than after you start an offensive.
But let me answer a question directly. I never had any doubts that Russia would win, precisely for the reasons you indicate, because of the power imbalance between Russia and Ukraine. Even Ukraine, with the backing of NATO, was never going to be able to prevail over Russia militarily. So even when the Ukrainians were having some successes on the battlefield, say in the autumn of 2022, I was confident that Russia would recover from those setbacks, from those defeats. And why I believed in that? Because, my knowledge of history, Russian military history, and Russian military history is a story of the Russian armed forces as a learning organization, learning from mistakes, adapting to the battlefield conditions, being creative, using your initiative. And that's exactly what's been happening in the Ukraine war for the past 3 years. So ultimately, I've had some passing fancies that maybe I'm wrong, but ultimately I've always believed that Russia's victory in this war was more or less inevitable.
The legacy of